This is الساعد, a 76-year-old shepherd from the central provinces of Algeria. After retiring from a 30 years driving career in Algiers, he decided to move back to his village in order to continue his life as a shepherd. There aren't much grazing lands around his village, so he spends months living alone in the mountains away with his sheep and cattle to ensure they always have proper land to graze in it. His only companions are his loyal dogs, who are always assisting him. He starts his day with cleaning the place of the sheep. This is a must-do task every day in order to ensure the sheep remain in a clean and healthy environment. Asad spends his night in this little shack he built himself. The daily routine of Asad includes walking, a lot of walking for tens of kilometers. The nature of the area makes walking a challenging task, but for Asad, it became a routine and he never feels any fatigue from walking as he jumps from one place to another. The cattle of Asad are located in a different location from the place where he stays with his sheep. He's heading now to let the cattle free to graze in the surrounding area. The cattle can easily push the door and get out at night, so the door must be barricaded with rocks to ensure none of them will get out and lose its way or get attacked by wolves. The larger cattle are kept separate from others to ensure they don't harm them at night. Before returning to release the sheep herd, Asad must ensure the cattle is heading in the right direction, and also that no dangerous animals are roaming the area. Asad must now walk back to his shack where the sheep are. As he continues the walk, he must also continue to monitor the cattle and guide any one of them that moves away from the herd back to it. The children of Al-Saad and some of their friends come to help him sometimes. Weak and pregnant sheep get to eat prepared food before the herd is released into the wild. The young men are trying to build a new fence to ensure the goats won't go climbing the mountains at night. They use the rocks of the mountain since they don't have any other construction material available. They smash the big rocks into small ones and then use them for building. As the young men continue to build the fence, Asad starts his daily journey with his sheep. His shepherding journey for the day has officially started. There isn't much grass at this time of the year. This is why it becomes so difficult to control the herd. They start spreading everywhere looking for it, which makes it extra hard for me to control them and make sure they don't get lost or attacked by wild animals in the area. This area was full of action during the French occupation of Algeria. It was a place where many Algerian fighters were based. I remember once as a child, the French army came here looking for some of them. 3 helicopters landed right over there. They spread everywhere looking around the area. The Algerian fighters were hiding in the opposite mountain, and they were observing every single move of their enemy. The French soldiers finished their sweep without being able to find anyone. They then moved their camp near our village to spend the night. The Algerian fighters then planned a night ambush on the French soldiers. We woke up in the middle of the night on the sound of bullets and explosions near the village. At first we thought it was us being attacked, but then we found out it was the Algerian fighters attacking the enemies. We were able to hear the French soldiers screaming and crying from distance. The Algerian fighters didn't take any prisoners of war at that night. The whole French camp was gone. After the battle, the Algerian fighters started to move away from the location and they crossed our village. Their leader was riding on a horse and they were all following him. They stopped for a very short time at the village where the villagers gave them food and resources, and then they moved away from the area before French backup arrives. Shepherding requires constant focus and full awareness of all surroundings. Even while taking a break from the heat of the sun, Asad must keep his eyes on his sheep. Despite all of nature challenges and life difficulties, Asad maintains a positive outlook about everything, and his morale is always high.
The weather has changed a lot over the past decades. The snow used to cover the top of these mountains all year long. We witnessed ourselves how over the years, it seems the weather is getting hotter. The snow now melts as soon as winter is over. It still snows heavily during the winter though.
The only way for transportation in these mountains is still animals, as no cars or vehicles can access these parts. Asad walks for an average of 30 kilometers every day. He sometimes has to walk more when the grass becomes scarce in the summer, like now for example.
I do miss my family and kids, but I'm only here for them. I sleep here alone for months just for them. I walk for many kilometers every day just for them. I want them to enjoy a good life and focus on their studies. I only want the best for them.
Despite his old age, Asad is still doing everything he can for his family in order to provide them with a good life. There is an Algerian proverb that says, "A real man dies standing up," and Asad is a living example of that. It's time for the herd to stop at the water source to drink. The water is abundant in the mountains of Algeria, especially pure mineral water. Fortunately, the overuse by the population and farms is becoming a threat to water sources all across Algeria. The miracle of life. The sheep just gave birth to twins. It's important for both of them to drink some of the afterbirth milk from their mother in order to quickly gain energy and the ability to stand. Without that burst of energy in the beginning, the young ones will find it hard to stand. Asad sees the sheep who just gave birth from far. He decides to go and check on her. On his way, he must force some sheep to return to the herd as they moved away from it. Maintaining the herd unity is one of the most difficult challenges for Asad. Asad is very happy with the newborn twins. It's lunchtime. Despite all the long walking he does every day, Asad doesn't eat much. His lunch is merely a piece of bread with some grapes. He of course doesn't forget his best friend, who seems to be forced to maintain the same diet as Asad.
It only recently became safe to move around these mountains. It was before filled with landmines left by the French. Up until the 90s, there were still some landmines in the area, and their last victim was a young child from our village who was playing with his peers around here when it exploded. He bled all his blood before receiving any medical care. When the medical help arrived, it was already too late. After that, the Algerian army started a big campaign here to remove and destroy all the landmines left by the French.
As the end of the day approaches, Asad guides the cattle back to a place near their housing. He will come back to them later after he finishes with the rest of the tasks. Asad uses his donkey for transportation only once a day, and mostly before the end of the day. He got used to walking and he prefers walking to riding. The sunset is approaching, and Asad must return with his herd before it gets dark. He continues to guide them slowly as they approach the starting point. The herd is finally home. Saad is relieved that this day is over as he locks the doors. The Saad doesn't have any electrical equipment in his shack. No TV, no radio, no nothing. The minute he closes the door of the shack, he puts his head to sleep to wake up before the dawn of the next day. Saad is one of those unsung heroes who continue to struggle in the mountains of Algeria to provide a decent living for their kids and sometimes even for their grandkids. There are many like him all across Algeria. There are also kids and women who shepherd all across the country, and some of them might be the stars of our next video. It won't be long before winter arrives to these parts of Algeria. The winter here is very harsh and challenging for farmers and shepherds, but this is going to be another story.